Hello there. Today we're going to look at how to modify the underscores theme in WordPress, starting from after you've uploaded the underscore theme to WordPress and activated it as the main theme. Now when you do that, on your WordPress site, you'll see something that looks like this. It's pretty boring because underscores is a hackable theme. It's what's called a sandbox, which means that it's just sort of a tabula rasa or a blank page. It's a toolkit, like a set of Legos that you can construct into whatever you want. So when you first look at WordPress, it's set up to be a blog and to show the blog on the front page. So the first thing you have to do is log into your site, go into the dashboard, and go under settings and go down to reading. And in reading, you'll see that it's displaying the latest posts, and you want to change that to display a static page. And for the front page, you can select this one called sample page, which is the page that comes pre-installed with WordPress, and then you hit save changes. Now, the next thing you want to do is take your sample page and put maybe replace the content on there. On the sample page that I have, I've already replaced the content. You can go to the pages link here on the left hand side, click on sample page. I've already cut and pasted in what's called lorem ipsum text in here. Normally there's some other text in here. You can leave that if you like, or put in lorem ipsum text, which is it's called Greek text. It's like scrambled Latin text that's used just as a placeholder for content. And if you go to lipsum.com, short for lorem ipsum, which is the name of this junk content, you can generate content by just coming down here and clicking generate lorem ipsum, and then you get as many paragraphs as you ask for. You highlight it, you do Command C on a Mac, Control C on a PC, then go back to your WordPress post and just paste it in there, and it'll be this junk text. Now you might also want to change the name of your page here. I'm going to change mine to home, and then just hit update. Now then when we go view this on the front end of the website, we're going to see this page and its content up at the top, and then the sidebar content down at the bottom. So we've switched it from displaying the blog on the front to displaying a page, and the page is what was the sample page. We renamed it home and pasted in some of our own content. Now what we want to be able to do is switch this up so that the content, what we'll call the content area, which is this area up here at the top, will be on the right side, and the sidebar area will be on the left side. Now we can set it up like that, sidebar on the left, content on the right, or we could do the opposite, content on the left, sidebar on the right, but we'll start by putting the sidebar on the left. Now the easiest way to do that is to use some code that comes already with underscores. And I'm going to go over here to Dreamweaver and show you what that code is. Inside of underscores, inside the underscores folder over here, if you're looking in the files folder, there is a folder called layouts. And inside there's two CSS style sheets, one called content-sidebar.css and one called sidebar-content.css. And this refers to the order in which the page is laid out. For example, this is the one we want to use, sidebar-content.css, because that means the sidebar is on the left and the content's on the right, whereas on this one it's the opposite. The content is on the left and the sidebar is on the right. Now the easiest way to use this is to cut and paste this CSS into our normal style sheet. So if I double click on this and open up this, you'll see that all it is it's a series of styles which make it basically makes the widget area, which is the sidebar, 25% wide and floats it on the left. And then it floats the content area on the right and leaves a margin of 25% on the left for the sidebar. So the easiest way to work with this is to just copy this whole section here. Just go edit, copy, and then go to your style sheet. I already have mine open right here, which is of course style.css. And you want to paste this into the correct section. Well, if we look up here at the top of our style sheet, we'll see that there's a table of contents, which is very handy because it can allow you to navigate throughout the style sheet, right? For example, if you want to get down here to the content area, you can just do Command F on a Macintosh or Control F on a PC and type in 10.0 on the current document to find it and just say find next or find next after that, and then it'll come down here to the content area. So that's quite easy, right? So this is the logical place where we would probably put our new layout. So what we'll do is we'll go down here to the content area. If we go back up to the top, you can see that it's broken down into, there's a content area, there's posts and pages, asides, comments, but there's not really anything about layouts. So maybe we can make an area 10.4 called layouts. So what if I just typed up here at the top 10.4 and I put layouts, right? Then we, once again, we do our Command F to find, and we look for 10.0 found in the search box here, and I'll come down to that. So here's content, so here's 10.1, 10.3 right there, right? Okay, so what we can do is we can highlight this comment code and go down here underneath section 10.3 and paste this in and then name it 10.4 and call it layouts. Okay, so we've just made a new section here under 10.3 called 10.4, and now in there we can paste our code from the sidebar content page. This code right here, we can do edit, copy, and then go back to our style sheet, and in this area right here, just paste this in. Okay, and remember to save this file, save. Okay, so now we've updated our style sheet with the sidebar-content CSS information. Now, if we take this style sheet and we upload it to underscores via Dreamweaver here, which we can do by clicking on these double-headed arrows here. This is the put and get function. So if we just click put, it'll always ask us if we want dependent files, and I usually say no, I just want the files I'm uploading, so I'll say no. It's going to upload the style sheet, and then if we go back to our web page here and hit the refresh button, we'll see that it has in fact done what we asked it to do. It's pasted, it's laid it out so the content is on the right, the sidebar is on the left, and it's kind of done something weird with this. Actually, it's probably not weird. The footer is just down here. It probably just goes this far. If we put more text in there, it'll probably go all the way across. So this is the layout that we wanted, right? Now, if we had, for example, wanted the other layout, the one where it's content on the left and then sidebar on the right, we could replace this layout area with the other choice, content sidebar, which I also happen to have open. It's right here. And so we could copy that and go back to our style sheet and replace that layout area with the new content layout area, and this is going to be the opposite of what we saw. We can upload it. It's saying it's been modified. Do you want to save it before you send it? And of course we do. And of course we don't want to upload dependent files. Okay, so now we go back to the style sheet or to the website, hit refresh, and things are flipped around. And you can see this is not ideal. I mean, this is going right up against this, so obviously we want to put some margins in there. Now, I kind of, let's see, which one do I prefer? I think I prefer the first layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to my style sheet. I'm going to do Command Z a couple times, which is going to put in the first set of content with the sidebar on the left. I'm going to save that and then upload it without dependent files. And then come down here and hit refresh. And then this is my layout now. I guess one of the reasons I like this better is because there's more margin right here. But of course we can control all of that. Now, one thing that I think is extremely helpful is I'm a big fan of putting color in the backgrounds of your divs as a way to help you see what's going on, because oftentimes there's margin that exists or padding, or maybe margin or padding doesn't exist, and it kind of messes up your layout. You're not really sure what's going on. So one way to add color to this is to go back to your style sheet and to go into the specific areas and add color. For example, here's the widget area, which is the sidebar, and we can simply type background and then put the word red in here with a semicolon, and then we can copy that and come up here to the content area, and we can make this background blue. Now if I upload this and then go refresh the page, then we see that that's exactly what's happened, and we can see now that these areas, the blue area goes, you know, right up to the edge, the red area goes right up to the edge on the left and comes right up to the edge of the blue area. So obviously the issue here is a margin issue, because if we had a longer piece of text here, it would bump right up against that and look terrible. So, you know, there are things we want to do. We might want to make the size of this smaller. Instead of 25%, we might want to make that 20%. Let's take a look at what happens when we do that. So we could leave the content area. Let's see, there's different choices we have here. We have the sidebar here. Its width is set at 25%. Now, the content area gives a margin of 25% over on the left-hand side. So that's plenty of space. But if we change the actual width of the sidebar to 20%, we should have an extra 5% of margin between the two areas. So let's see what happens when we make that change. And then hit refresh. Okay, so you see what happens is the red area, which is the sidebar, gets smaller, right? Which means that any content in here can only hit up to this point, and then it's going to wrap around. Whereas this blue area, you know, it still goes all the way up here to meet the red area, but its content starts over here. So now that's a nice big gap of space between the two that we have, that we might want to keep, so that we have this looking good. Now, whenever you want, you can turn off these colors and see how it looks. I tend to keep my colors on until I'm done with the entire layout, and then I turn them off, or I might turn them off occasionally to see how it's looking during the process. But most of the time, I keep them on the whole time until I'm done with the layout, and then I'll turn them off. And of course, when you turn them off, you can just comment them out. You can highlight the color here in the site content area. In Dreamweaver, come over to your comments and use this comment here, since you're on a style sheet. That will comment that out. You can use the same comment here. That will comment that out and upload that. And then when we go look at it, of course, we'll have the same layout, but just without the color. Like that. Well, now that we have the color off, we might want to look at ways that we can adjust the margins on this content area in the sidebar so that they're not touching the side of the browser, the sides of the browser, and so they don't meet up in the middle anywhere. By the way, this thing that you see open here is it's in Google Chrome. It's the developer toolbar, which is like Firebug, helps me see when this thing's turned on, helps me see the different sections and what they are. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to start with this content area, and we're going to add a little margin onto the right side so that this content doesn't hit the edge of the browser. So if we go back to our style sheet, we'll see that the content area is right here, and we see that it already has settings for margin. And there's 4 settings in here, 0, 0, 0, and -25. Well, this -25 is for the left-hand side. That's what lets the sidebar sit over there on the left. But these other 3 are for different areas. The way that margin works is it starts at the top, so the first number represents the top. The second number represents the right side. The third number represents the bottom, and the fourth number represents the left. So we've already got the left side assigned there. If we want to add some margin to the right side so that the content would move a bit away from the right side of the browser, that would be this number right here. So instead of 0, what if we change that to 5%? So in other words, we want the content to be 5% away from the right edge of the browser. So if we upload that, we can take a look at it. I'm going to leave the color off for now so it's a little easier to see this. So we go hit refresh, and you'll see now that this content has moved 5% away from the edge of the browser. It's a little closer to here because it moved it over a little bit, but that's still an acceptable amount of space. So then the next question becomes, how do we move this over a little bit without making it move too much closer to here? Well, then we go into our site content widget area, and notice that this doesn't have any margin settings already. So we can add some. We just go down here and we type margin. In this case, we want to put margin on the left-hand side to move the sidebar away from the left edge of the browser. So we're going to say margin left, and we'll just do a small percentage, like 2%, right? But in addition to that, we're going to go ahead and take the width of this and shrink it down a little bit to 15%, so that when this moves over from the left margin, we make it a little smaller than 20% so it doesn't end up hitting the content on the right. So now when we do put, and then go refresh that, okay, now we see this stuff move 2% over from the left, and because we shrank the size of this widget to 15% instead of 20, we still have a nice space there. Okay, so that's the end of this brief video. This video was just to get you up and running with starting to edit the style sheet for underscores so that you can start to get your website into some sort of shape that makes sense to you. Okay, so I'm going to end there, and hopefully we'll have some more videos soon to show you some other aspects of working with this. Thank you.